Hi guys, how's it going? I'm Adam, and I'm here to talk to you about the future of communication on the web. Here's some contact details for me if you're interested in getting in touch with me or looking me up on GitHub or Twitter or anything like that. And yeah, I work at a company called TalkBox, and we're actually a company based in San Francisco, but we have a small office in Sydney of 5 of us that do JavaScript development, and I run that team there in Sydney. And what we do is we're a platform for video communication on the web. So we do stuff with WebRTC, and we build a platform and try to make WebRTC easy for people. So yeah, they paid for me to come here, so I thought I should give them a bit of a plug. So yeah, what is WebRTC? So WebRTC is a free open project that provides browsers and mobile applications with real-time communication capabilities via simple APIs, blah, 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 blah. What does that all mean? It's video chat in the browser without the need for plugins, which is pretty awesome. So you can get access to your camera. We've seen a lot of demos of this stuff from people. You can get access to your camera and microphone, and you can stream it through what's called a peer connection to other people through a peer-to-peer connection. And there's the data channels API, which is cool as well, but I'm not going to talk too much about. But yeah, WebRTC has been around now for 5 years. They just celebrated the 5-year anniversary in June of this year, I think it was. So what I'm here to talk about is not WebRTC as a whole. I've only got 15 minutes, but kind of what's new in WebRTC, what are the latest APIs that are out, and kind of the cool stuff that you can do with those APIs. But if you are interested in looking into more information about WebRTC, there's some great resources out there, like this GitHub samples directory for the WebRTC project has a whole lot of samples, and I'll use some of those samples in my demos, actually. They've got a great getting started guide, and if you're interested in giving OpenTalk a try, the platform that we build at TalkBox, we've got some resources for you as well. But yeah, what I'm going to talk about is kind of some of the new stuff. So there's actually some overlap in this presentation with Soledad's presentation from yesterday, if you were here for JSConf, but I'm going to try and focus on some different areas and go into a little bit more details. So yeah, we've got this video element.capture stream API now, and what that basically lets you do is take a video that's being played back and capture that stream from that video, and you can then stream that to somebody else. So I'll give you a demo of that. There's a similar API for the canvas as well, so anything that's happening inside a canvas, you can capture a media stream from that and stream that to other people. And then there's this new media recorder API as well, which lets you take those streams or any other streams that you've got and record them. So like that guitar demo we had earlier, you could record that guitar that you were playing and record it to a file, or any of these kinds of streams that you're capturing. So why do I care about these APIs, and why did they bother implementing them? What can I do with these APIs? I want to be able to do this, right? This is me playing around with Snapchat. I don't know if you guys have had a go at Snapchat. They've got a lot of fun filters in there. It's amazing what they've done with some of them, actually, but they seem to come out with new filters all the time. But this is my wife and I playing around with Snapchat and taking some hilarious photos, if I do say so. I want to be able to do that. I also want to be able to do things like this. This is Photo Booth. Soledad gave a demo yesterday, actually, of Photo Booth in the browser. I want to be able to do these cool things in a browser, you know? Like, you've been able to kind of do it before. You could always take your get user media, since we've had it, and render it to a canvas, but then you've been stuck. You haven't been able to do anything with that. But now we can capture that stream and either record it to a file or stream it to other people. It's not trapped in my one browser instance anymore. So let's, and this, there's so much more that you can do as well. Like, this is just some basic examples of things that have already been done, but there's so much that you can do that you could potentially do. Now we basically have, video and audio editing in the browser, and you can stream it to people and write it to a file. There's so many possibilities. So let's dive in a little bit to some of the code. So what I'm doing here is I'm taking these samples from, let me make that bigger. I'm taking some samples from the WebRTC samples directory. So this one's the video capture stream API. And what I'm doing here, you'll see on the left, here's a video playing back from a source. And as I press play, it's synchronized to the video on the right-hand side. And if I pause, they both pause. And if I scrub back and forth, it's actually synchronized between the two as well. And this isn't a very practical example, but you can imagine that this second video on the right-hand side doesn't have to be in the same browser window. That could be on somebody else's machine somewhere else in the world, and we could synchronously watch a video together, and as we play and pause and scrub back and forth, we'd be synchronized. So let's take a look at the code for that one. It's really quite simple, actually. You basically got your video on the left and your video on the right. And then I'm going to listen for the play event of my video on the left, and when it starts playing, I'll just set the right video's source object to be the stream that I capture from the left video, and then I can play it back. And that stream that I'm capturing, I could use to attach to a peer connection and send to somebody else as well, or I could use my media recorder API, which I'll introduce a little bit later to record it. So that's that one. Similarly, there's this canvas capture stream API, which is basically the same idea, but with a canvas. So let me jump over to that demo. So what I've got here on the left is a canvas that's got a teapot rendered in it using WebGL. And if I drag on that teapot, it moves around, and you can see it actually moving around on my video on the right as well. And this thing on the right is just a video element. And similarly, it's not a very practical example, but you can imagine, I could be manipulating some kind of 3D world and streaming that to other people that are watching me elsewhere through a peer connection. So the code for that is just as simple again. It's just I've got my canvas and my video, and then I call capture stream on my canvas and set that to be the source of the video. And that's all I have to do. Now let's look at the media recorder API. So I can use this API to record all kinds of media, but let me just do a demo here. I'm going to start recording myself. Wave, hello, hi mom. Stop recording, and I can play that video back, and then I'll play back, and I could download it and things like that. So yeah, like I said, all these samples are available on this WebRTC GitHub repo. I haven't written these myself, but there's a great resource there. But if we take a look at that code, what they've done here is they've got a GUM video, they've called it, which is GUM stands for Get User Media. So that's the video on the left where I've captured. We've seen some examples of this before at the conference where people are doing a Get User Media and attaching it to something. So I've got my Get User Media video, and then when I click the Start Recording button, what I'm going to do is initialize these recorded blobs, this recorded blobs array, and I'm going to create a new media recorder that has, and I'm going to pass it in the stream, that stream that I got from Get User Media. And then I'm going to pass in some options which basically tell it what the container and the codec I want to use for the video are. And then I can listen on that media recorder for a data available event. And what I'm doing there is every time a new data available event fires, I'm pushing it onto that blobs array. And then you call media recorder start. And that number 10 that I'm passing in there basically says that I want to collect 10 milliseconds at a time. And so every 10 milliseconds of data, the data available event will fire, and I'll append that 10 milliseconds of data onto my recorded blob. If you don't pass anything in there, it'll just give you one big blob at the end when you stop. And then to stop recording, when you press the stop recording button, it just calls media recorder.stop. And to play it back, I basically take those recorded blobs and create this blob object, and I set that to be the source of my recorded video. And that's it. It'll start playing it back. So, that's all good and all. I can see that I can record a video, and I can capture a stream from a canvas and from a video. But can I really make Snapchat in a browser? That's kind of the question. So I thought I'd take that on as a challenge. And over the last few days, I've been playing around with it a little bit. And here's my my simple Snapchat in a browser app that I've put together. And what I've got here is just my snap button. So if I click that, I get a snap of my face frozen. Oops, I just knocked something over. And I can download that if I want, and there's my snap of myself. Or I can, if I hold down that button, it'll start recording. And I let go, and that's my video recorded. And I can similarly download that video and play it back in, that's it playing back in VLC. So that's a simple, that's using those simple APIs that I talked about. But what about the filters? Those cool filters that we saw for Snapchat. How do I do that stuff? Well, so what I was doing there is just doing a normal get user media call. We've seen this a few times. You call get user media. I'm not handling errors here, which I should be. But yeah, you call get user media, you get a stream back, and then you set the source object of your video element to be that stream, and you call play. But I don't want to just play back normal video. I want to modify it, right? So I want to render that video in a canvas. So here I am creating a canvas element. And getting the 2D context of it, and basically doing this draw loop thing. So what that does is every request animation frame, I'm drawing the contents of my video element that I got previously from get user media into a canvas. And then I'm also going to, at the bottom there, call capture stream on that canvas and use that in my media recorder or in my peer connection if I want to stream it. And I'm going to add the audio track back in. So I'm going to take my microphone audio from my original video stream as well and put that into the capture stream. And that way I'm capturing audio too. So that's basically, that's still just not modifying the data at all. So what I want to do is instead of just drawing the video straight on there, I want to modify the video a little bit. So what I can do to do that is I can get my image data. And image data is just an array of RGBA values. So if I pull image data out of a canvas, I just get an array from the top left-hand corner all the way down to the bottom right of all the RGBA values of every single pixel. And that's the same RGBA that you have in CSS, where it's just a red, green, blue, and alpha value between 0 and 255. And what I can do here to get kind of a color shift effect like this is just, this was a red shift here. So what I'm doing is I'm iterating 4 bits at a time and getting that RGBA value. And I'm leaving the GBA alone, but the R, I'm adding an extra 50 to it, but making sure I don't go over 255. So what that does is that gives me kind of that red effect. So let me show you that here. If I close this video away, here I am again live. If I hold down on my face, then I get some filter options here. If I press red, you can see that I've got a red filter, and similarly I got a green and a blue filter. And if I want to record my snap again, and download that, you'll see that if I play that back in VLC, that's my green video in VLC. So that's a simple, fun filter to do of just modifying the RGB value a little bit. Here's another fun one. This is inverting it. So this is just as simple. Instead of giving back just the normal RGB value, I'm going to invert it. So I'm going to do 255 take away the RGB value. So what was black at 000 will now be white, and vice versa, and all the colors kind of get flipped around. So let me show you that one. I call this one my creepy Santa filter because it makes me kind of look like a creepy Santa Claus, a white beard. I scare my kids with that one. I got black teeth. So that's kind of the invert filter, which is a bit of fun. But what about those cool face effects, right? Like Snapchat has these really cool face effects where they morph your face and overlay things on your face and all this sort of thing. How can I do that stuff? Can I really do that in a browser? Good question. Let's see. So there are some libraries out there, fortunately, that do this face tracking stuff for you. So tracking.js is one that I had to play around with. But it just kind of gives you generally, this is around where we think a face is and around where some eyes and a mouth are and some features are, which is good for some use cases. But for this kind of use case, you want something more rich than that. So what I found is this library, CLM tracker. And what it does is it gives you actually 62 points on the face that is mapped. So it's much more detailed information, and it will live and really quickly actually give you that information, all those points on a face. And that's kind of what you need to be able to do this kind of stuff. So let's see if this works. Mileage may vary with this, right? And sometimes if the lighting isn't too good, my face won't come up properly. Oh, there we go. It's working. So you can see as I raise my eyebrows, it's tracking my eyebrows. As I move my mouth, if I open my mouth, I can do things like make those giant tongues in Snapchat come out if I wanted to. But yeah, that's it, tracking my face. So then what I can do is something very simple like put hilarious glasses on my face. Isn't that funny? It's not quite lining up perfectly, is it? But if I raise my eyebrows, you can see my eyebrows raising. And that's kind of a simple fun filter I can do using this kind of data. So the way I've done that is just to quite simply take that, basically that CLM tracker gives you this get current position API that gives you back an array of all those 62 different points. And then what I'm doing is figuring out about where the eyes and the mouth are and drawing this comedy glasses image on top of that canvas. So you can see I'm doing this context.draw image with just the video element, so drawing the normal video on there. And then I get my current position, I figure out a width and a height and the X, Y positions, and I draw this image on top of it. So I'm just doing that repeatedly in that same draw loop that I had before. Then you can get more fancy, and you can do things, and that CLM tracker has some really interesting kind of face morphing demos. And I didn't get this integrated into my app, but they've got some great demos on there, and the good thing about their demo, I get it playing here. So you can see that's it morphing my face into not looking very well. And then you can see it morphing into, that's a creepy, cheery face. And you can see up there in the top left that that's the frames per second that it's rendering at in the browser, and that's really high. It's getting up at like 200, 160 frames per second, and doing all this kind of fancy face deformation stuff, and it's doing it in real time and really quickly. That's scary. I'm going to but yeah, so all this stuff, hopefully I've shown that all this stuff is kind of possible in the browser. And yeah, go out and make Snapchat and make other cool stuff with this stuff. So yeah, thank you. And if you want to check out the slides, I'll be putting them up and tweeting about them and putting them on GitHub or whatever. But feel free to come grab me if you have any questions as well. Thanks.